about the causes of Parkinson's disease symptoms and multiple sclerosis, SM, with Barnai Roberto. Symptoms of Parkinson's disease are no longer basically called illness, knowing that this is a meaningful biological program. Although Parkinson's disease is basically a symptom of complications, this is also a process controlled by our brain. If someone suffered from a conflict without being able to escape, somebody or something caught me and I cannot get away from it, and this situation, matter or person, is a burden to me, I would run but I cannot. Then the biological reaction to this condition is muscle weakness. This muscle impairment is an ancient biological reaction that has been worked out in the animal world. Where the victim wanted to avoid death from the predator, she pretended to be dead. So this muscular impairment is nothing but a defensive reflex. During millions or billions of years of evolution, this reflex rescued us from predator attacks, allowing us to break free from the clutches of our enemies. The predator is simply not interested in dead animals. If someone's life happens, from which he will not be able to free himself, when one man will force the other to something, then the body will react to this impairment of the muscles of the hands. In the normal case, this special biological program is carried out in such a way that as long as the conflict persists, you can feel partial pasis of the hands muscles. It does not involve pain or other symptoms. At best we notice that the muscles are weaker. There are problems with raising or keeping things. In the period after the solution of the problem, in the first half of this period, this pasis is still increasing, so the severity of the symptoms is noticeable. Then midway through the convalescence period, when epileptic crisis occurs, we observe the exact opposite of pasis. That is convulsions, uncontrolled muscle movements. 30. This is nothing else than repairing the nerve connections in previously impaired muscles. After the epileptic crisis, when the convulsions begin to subside, we are beginning to be able to move the paralyzed limb earlier. This is a normal, one-step course of change. If however someone cyclically falls into this conflict, because let's not get rid of the parents who are around him, cannot escape from the striker, and constantly reoccurs into conflict, it is in this person period after the resolution of the conflict does not end. From the continuous switching between stages, the weight of the conflict is collected and enlarged. Symptoms of getting out of the conflict are getting heavier and they are getting longer and longer. Fortunately for man, Parkinson's disease is exclusively associated with motor function, no inflammation or pain, no muscle atrophy. Long-term withdrawal from the disease is manifested by long-term problems with limb movement or prolonged epileptic crisis. This means that if someone for half a year or a year is constantly falling into a conflict of escape, he will be feeling the long-term symptoms of the crisis when he is out of the disease. This means that for even days or weeks it will have seizures. After all, it is a long-lasting symptom of the crisis. When the crisis is over and there will be no reoccurrence of the conflict, then functionality will return. One must understand that Parkinson's disease is nothing more than a continuation of the conflict. There was too much accumulation of conflict. What is the conflict mass? It is the product of the duration of the conflict and its intensity. It is important that on this basis we can roughly calculate the duration and intensity of the period after the conflict is resolved. Only cyclical recurrence can complicate these calculations. If someone for half a year or a year was not able to decide what to do, or it was difficult for him to part with a relative partner or other intrusive, imposing, exploiting, drinking blood person, making him feel completely helpless. It is Parkinson's disease that is becoming a solution to this condition. These are long-lasting symptoms. What to take note of. Each special biological program has its own specific framework. It has its beginning and end. If you see that a change does not go away, there are two possible reasons for this. Cyclical renewal of the conflict, or too long its duration. For this reason the convalescence period will also last a long time. Thanks to new medicine we can predict these reactions. Even if cyclical renewal of the conflict cannot calculate the date of the end of symptoms, we can calculate it with great accuracy. At last the way to Parkinson's bizarre mysterious disease has been found. One has to solve the conflict that man experiences in the form of overwhelming desire to escape, which however cannot be achieved. You should address the question to people affected by Parkinson's disease. Why do they want to run? If there are handshakes, this means that the body wants to apply the block. If Parkinson's disease is affecting your feet and your feet trembling like in a movie, then it reflects the conflict of movement, walking or flight. If Parkinson's disease affects the face, which also happens, then the basis of it is the conflict resulting from the regular ridicule of a person who cannot be free to escape from it. In Hungary the old saying goes, "I was so embarrassed that my face was sore." This quote comes just from paralysis of the face. The mobility of the face is impaired, and if it happens regularly, then for a long time facial muscles will be affected by spontaneous convulsions. This is nothing but a symptom of a long-lasting crisis. The essence is based on the fact that one must search for and detect the cause of the conflict, which in essence consists in the necessity and the impotence of distancing themselves from something. I want to leave something behind, I want to forget something, to fence, I want to get rid of the person using me, I want my relatives finally gave me peace. Such conflicts are behind the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. At the same time it also has meaning whether someone is right or left-handed. The right-hand side of the right-hand person is always associated with a partner. Maybe it's a neighbor, a companion of life, or father, a brother-in-law, a sibling, anyone who lives next to me for a while. On the other hand, the symptom that appears to the left of the right refers to the relation of mother, child, ancestor, descendant, and refers as to the conflict depends on someone subordinate. He may appear when, for example, an 80-year-old mother is imposed too much on us, all the time pretending we do not visit it, we do not care enough about it. We have our own life and she does not live by our behavior. We do not give us peace, still hurt us. If we cannot escape the wounded person, then we produce symptoms involving paralysis or muscle twitching. So again, Parkinson's disease is nothing but a symptom of a long-lasting crisis. Who precedes paralysis? These clinical symptoms in the normal case would not last long. Only then can they be long-lasting if repeatedly falling into conflict again. If we solve it once and for all, you have to withstand and survive the symptoms of the period after the problem is resolved, after which all functions will return to normal. We also need to mention cases where it is not possible to return to normal, because it also happens unfortunately. If someone for too long switches between conflict and convalescence, and in his brain at the contact of the same relay alternately occur times to pathological change and regeneration. After a while regeneration of the brain tissue will not be entirely possible. This is related to chronic and permanent impairment of its functionality. So if we want to avoid permanent damage, we need to resolve our conflicts in a timely manner. Then enjoy your health. Conflict standing after multiple sclerosis, SM. Very similar to Parkinson's disease. The difference between Parkinson's disease and MS is that the symptoms of Parkinson's disease are long-term convulsions, being part of the convalescence crisis, while SM is a symptom of a period of conflict activity. We have quite a bit of information about MS. The cases with which I met, they were always related to family matters, which is scary. When in a family I cannot decide what to do. I have to leave or stay, I have to move out or not move out. I do not feel good, but I do not know whether I should go or stay. If I cannot decide on this, and for a long time I get stressed out, this is a problem for me, it hurts me mentally. It is my brain that breaks the nerves, which is not a problem for him. After all, despite the fact that I send muscle impulses to move around, it does not get to them. The meaning of the existence of this change is also manifested during conflict activity because it is based on paralysis. Well, if I cannot move my limbs anyway, this conflict of motion is pointless, unfounded. After all, I cannot move. This is a primitive biological reaction dating back to the Stone Age, still occurring over millions of years. If someone does not like his SM symptoms, let him decide left or right. And in the time of leaving the disease, after the crisis, will return movement ability. The paraplegia will disappear.